Hello and welcome to Quora Queries. I'm Q, and I will be taking you through today's Q&A. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you want more questions like this. Now, let's get into this. An eviction notice was put on my door saying I have 14 days for me to leave. What happens if 14 days go by and I'm still here? The 14-day deadline? Oh, that's just their way of saying, we'll miss you, but here's a little more time to pack. Hopefully, they're not expecting me to leave like Cinderella before midnight. Time to check on the community. Reply 1. It takes time for an eviction to take place. Have you been to court yet? The landlord has to set up a court date. When that court date comes, depending on why the landlord wants to evict you, the judge will set a future date to give you time to move. The landlord cannot enter your home during this time. After that date has passed, if you are not gone, the landlord has to notify the court you are still there, and they will send law enforcement to clean out the home, whether you are there or not, and will set all of your belongings outside. Sometimes they use a trash bin, and sometimes they place it on the curb. I went through this process with a slumlord after I contested a rent hike. 2 weeks later, I was given a summons to appear in court in 1 month's time. Since I had paid for 1 month in advance plus security deposit, I didn't pay rent at the end of that month, saved it. When I went to court, the landlord didn't show, so they rescheduled the court date for the next month. I didn't pay rent again, and before the second court date came, I moved out. If you are holding back paying rent because the landlord is not fixing something they are responsible for, the judge will ask you point blank if you have the amount of money owed on the rent. If you don't have it, you will lose the case. Also know that most landlords do not plan to give back the security deposit, and it usually costs more to sue them for it than what you will get. Reply 2. I had come home to an eviction notice on my apartment door, and I am still here years later. I paid my rent through Rent Cafe online. I even got an email from them saying I did. But there was still a notice on my door saying I didn't. I called my building's management company, and I could hear the woman in the background say she processed my rent payment. Turns out it was some software error they didn't understand via Rent Cafe. I paid my rent, and instead of going to zero for what I owed now, it recharged me. So the computer only saw the second notice saying I owed rent again. The computer spit out an eviction notice and someone brought it to my door. The management company didn't know who posted it since no one in the office said they did. But since the girl recalled my payment the day before, they told me to ignore it. I'm just here for the 14-day countdown. Might as well make it an event. You know, invite the neighbors over for a farewell party? Reply 3. Depends on the reason for your eviction. Typically, a 14-day notice is a first warning, and they have yet to go to court. If you're still there after the 14 days, then they will approach the court to obtain a judgment. This may take anywhere from 30 to 120 days depending on the backlog. If the eviction notice is for late payment of rent, provided you're current when it comes to the court, the case will be dismissed. You can also plead exceptional circumstances and request time to pay. If, however, you're being evicted for cause and not just late payment, then you can expect things will go very quickly from there. I myself am expecting one of these notices any day. My wife passed away August 30th, and with the funeral expenses, I am currently behind on my rent. I have explained to the management company, but that doesn't mean they're not going to proceed. In my case, I'm sure I'll have the rent caught up before he comes to the court, and if not, my exceptional circumstances should buy me a little bit more time to pay, so long as I don't follow any further behind. Reply 4. An eviction notice is issued by the court. That means you have been ordered by a court of law to vacate, and you knew this was coming. If you don't leave by the vacate by date, law enforcement officers will remove you from the premises by any means necessary. You will not be given time to pack. You will not be given time to do anything except grab your coat. However, if this was a cure or quit notice issued by your landlord, that's a different matter. You have 14 days to either fix whatever caused the notice or get out. If you're still there, the landlord will proceed with the eviction and you'll receive the court order to vacate. Note that a court-ordered eviction goes on your record. Future landlords will see it. Many will refuse to rent to you, so think very carefully before you proceed. Reply 5. Several things will happen. Number 1. Your landlord will go to the courts and file a forcible eviction against you. Number 2. The law enforcement agency in your community will come to your house to serve you with eviction papers. When you are served, you will have 2 weeks to appear in court. If the law enforcement cannot serve you because you are avoiding service, they will mail you a notice by certified mail. Number 3. When you show up in court, or if you are a no-show, the judge will give a judgment to the landlord, and you will be sent a notice giving you 3 weeks to move. At the end of the 3 weeks, the landlord can come back to court and ask the court to send law enforcement out to force you out. If this drastic measure is necessary, you will have all your belongings gathered up by a moving company and your items will be taken to storage. In order for you to get your belongings returned to you, a bill will be presented to you in the amount of the fees for moving and the storage fees. But wait, there are more prizes waiting for you behind door number 1. You will have a court record, a permanent court record, of an eviction process against you. This will haunt you for the rest of your life. If you simply move out after the 14-day notice that your landlord gave you, then the landlord will have no need to file. But once he files, you have a court record, even if you move on your own. Number 2. The landlord can sue you for the rent that was due, and you will have a judgment on your record. By the way, this judgment is good for 10 years, and if your landlord is angry enough, he can renew the judgment against you every 10 years. So do yourself a favor and pack up your bags and get the hell out now. Reply 6. So, let's see. You have 14 days to leave and you're worried about what happens if you don't. You asking this question makes me wonder if your priority is trying to live for free as long as you can or actually trying to find a place and continue on with your life. We all run into financial burdens, it happens. But if you're not making attempts to rectify your rent situation and the landlord evicted you, then kindly leave and let the landlord continue on with their priority of renting their property to someone that can fulfill their financial responsibilities. A landlord has bills to pay and deadlines to pay it, just like every other responsible person in America. Which brings me to what will happen to you. Depending on your state, failure to leave can result in a law enforcement personnel being notified of your unwillingness to leave. The authority will visit your home and give you X amount of hours to clear out your items. Once X amount of hours has ended, they then revisit with the landlord. Landlord opens the residence, and the authority literally will physically remove you from the property with whatever you can carry. Goodbye. Your personal items left will be removed by the landlord, discarded and or sold to recoup his losses from you. Your rent record will now have an eviction on it. Future landlords will use this as a reason to deny you renting from them. Eventually, the eviction can end up on your credit report. Landlord can even start garnishment procedures on your place of employment if he decides to track and find you. Having to be evicted is never a good thing, and it happens to a lot of people. But use this as a lesson for the future to try to keep up on future rent payments wherever you end up. If you're having issues, communicate with your landlord or give him a plan of action for you relocating to somewhere else you can afford. This is way better than knowing you can't pay and trying to steal. Yes, steal days of free rental in a property that someone else has to pay for with rent payments they collect. An eviction notice is a serious matter, and while it may be tempting to make light of it with witty remarks, it's important to understand the potential consequences if you don't leave within the specified time frame. After the 14 days, the landlord or property manager could take you to court to file for a formal eviction. This could result in a judgment against you, making it difficult to rent in the future or even damaging your credit. While it's natural to feel overwhelmed, it's important to approach the situation with a clear head and take action to avoid long-term repercussions. Reply 7. After reading the answers from others, here's my non-legal advice. Move now while you have a chance of finding a place you like. Do it before you are thrown out. You already have an eviction notice on your record. If you leave quietly and don't cause trouble, you have a better chance of being allowed to rent more places in peace. Remember, nobody is legally obligated to rent to you. If your landlord who is evicting you is doing something illegal or a civil violation, address it after you are moved. Otherwise, you will spend the next 2 to 3 years of your life in court, scraping by for food and living in a hovel or couch surfing. Reply 8. Instead of asking the forum how you can scam the system and your landlord, why don't you just pay your rent? I'm so tired of deadbeat tenants trying to use this forum as a think tank to skip out on their responsibilities. Pay your rent on time, and you won't have these issues. Otherwise, save you and the landlord any type of stress and headache and move out. I don't understand deadbeat tenants. I know times are hard, but if you can't afford the rent, then you need to move. What makes you think that your landlord, who probably has a mortgage on the property, should be paying for you to live for free? If times are hard for you, they're probably hard for your landlord as well, who's been paying your fair share. How is that even fair or equitable? Save the trouble and move. Besides, why would you want an eviction on your record? That's definitely going to make it harder for you to get an apartment somewhere else. Do the right thing and move on. Reply 9. Generally, a 14-day notice will be one of a few types. A pay or quit notice, meaning you need to pay what you owe or leave. A fix or quit notice, meaning you have a specific problem that needs to be rectified, such as an unauthorized sublet, unauthorized pet, or some other fixable lease violation, or you must leave. Or simply a quit notice or notice to vacate, meaning that there is an unfixable violation. Your lease has ended and there will be no renewal and you have X amount of days to vacate. This is usually the minimum legal notice for the circumstance. A 14-day quit notice with no specific violation sounds like a second or even third notice. For an overstay after a previous notice to vacate, different jurisdictions have different requirements. However, after all of the landlord-level quit notices have been issued, then the eviction filing will take place and then things get real. You cannot ignore these notices and expect good things to happen. If it becomes a court case, it will appear on your record and will make future renting difficult, if not impossible. If you are evicted after your day in court, the judge will issue an order and you could be physically removed from the property with all your belongings dumped on the curb. Talk to your landlord. See if the issue can be corrected. If not, start packing. Do not let it escalate to the unnecessary level of stupid by ignoring it. It will not go away. Reply 10. As others have said, it depends on whether your landlord or the court issued your notice. Big difference, since a court order comes after your landlord has won their case against you and has secured the right to evict. Eviction speed varies considerably all over the US, so the exact time depends on where you live, but the outcome is the same. You'll be without a home sooner or later and nobody will want to rent to you in the future. Contact the housing authority in your locality or state for help or a referral to someone who can help you. Awaiting eviction is not the answer. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you get alerts on the next question. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye-bye.